of the suspect and his bicycle, which was taken from surveillance cameras where the crime took place. North Hollywood officers took the suspect into custody later that night when they observed him with his bicycle on Lancashire Boulevard in Arminta Street in North Hollywood area. The suspect in custody has been identified as 44-year-old Richard Vitagliano, an unhoused resident of Los Angeles. Vitagliano has an extensive criminal record for narcotics, assault with a deadly weapon, as well as various weapons charges. Based on the evidence in this matter, North Hollywood detectives believe the assault was not a hate crime, at least not from what's been determined at this stage, but instead motivated by a dispute over property belonging to the victim. The suspect, Richard Vitagliano, was booked for 245A of the Penal Code, assault with a deadly weapon, and he is at Van Nuys Jail and remains in our custody. The North Hollywood Command will be conducting extra patrol in the area following this incident and will continue to engage the community to discuss public safety and address any other concerns of our community. Also, an issue that got quite a bit of media attention was an individual stealing mail and was confronted by residents of that building. In the month of August, there were several burglaries in which community mailboxes were breached and mail was stolen within the Van Nuys area. Community members worked together and circulated images of the suspect and the vehicle he drove while committing those burglaries. On August 5th, two community members saw the same suspect return with a bag of stolen mail. One person attempted to detain the suspect and an altercation ensued where the suspect grabbed a knife from inside his vehicle and attempted to stab the victim. The suspect fled prior to police response that day. The Van Nuys detectives immediately started an in-depth investigation, which led to the identification of the suspect as 42-year-old Sarkis Uralyan, a career criminal with an extensive criminal record. Through their relentless work, detectives discovered that there were multiple unreported mail thefts in the immediate area. United States postal inspectors, community members contacted detectives to advise of other burglaries that were committed by the same suspect in other cities. On August 7th, a search warrant was served upon Sarkis Uralyan's residence and the vehicle he used to commit the crimes. Detectives seized evidence including mail belonging to the victim, counterfeit U.S. currency, and burglary tools. The suspect was arrested for assault with a deadly weapon. His girlfriend, Stephanie Wittenbach, was found and arrested as an accessory. The district attorney filed 1 count of assault with a deadly weapon, 17 counts of burglary, 3 counts of identity theft, and 1 count of receiving stolen property against Mr. Uralyan. The DA also filed 1 count of burglary, 1 count of conspiracy, and 1 count of filing a false police report against his girlfriend, as she allowed Sarkis to use her car in commission of the crimes and then later falsely reported the vehicle as being stolen. The investigation is still ongoing, and Mr. Uralyan is currently being held on $900,000 bail. Next up, the arrest of a burglary crew from what was termed the celebrity burglaries. And I just want to take a moment to give you some background information regarding that recent arrest. I won't get into specific details that may affect the successful prosecution of that case. The case originated from a burglary investigation on June 25th at a resident in the 2300 block of North Edgemont Drive, where it was reported that 3 masked suspects scaled the perimeter fence, approached a glass window, and used a tool to shatter that window. They entered the residence, removed property, and then fled to an unknown location. Investigators teamed up with Metropolitan Division resources who began surveillance on the crew that were burglarizing various high-profile residences throughout the city. Some of the burglaries included homes of actors and professional athletes. On August 7th, investigators followed the group of suspects into 77th Division, where they fled on foot in the area of Slauson and Town. A perimeter was established, and with the assistance of Metropolitan Division K-9 resources, all 4 suspects were located within the perimeter and were arrested for burglary. Investigators discovered the suspects are documented or affiliated with a criminal street gang. Burglary detectives served a search warrant on the suspect's residence in the city of Compton and in Newton Division in the city of Los Angeles, where they recovered numerous items taken during burglaries within the city. The suspects were identified as 18-year-old Ja'Cory Watson, 18-year-old Charles Zaire, a 17-year-old male juvenile, and a 16-year-old male juvenile. And again, not able to share much more on that because the case is still ongoing. I can get into more as far as crime stats, but let me open it up in just a second here for any questions you have, and we'll take it in that direction. Again, I want to just say a thank you to members of the community who came forward with information that was very helpful to us in a number of these different arrests and many others that we haven't talked about today. But really, it's that ability to be able to work with the community, to be able to work with security officers who are out there, to be able to share information and be able to hold people accountable for preying on other people. Without that, we can't possibly be successful the way this community deserves. So I'm very thankful to our officers who are, in this case, detectives who worked so hard on these cases, but very much so the community members who are willing to step forward and be helpful. So thank you. Let me open it up. Any questions you may have?
Chief, can you provide any more, I know you don't have a lot of information yet, but as far as that Washington State suspect who obviously created a lot of fear, a lot of concern in the communities, reports of getting him into custody?
Yeah, but since it just happened, we don't have much more to share at this point. There were a number of efforts being undertaken in the region to be able to locate this suspect, particularly of concern since he was deemed to be as dangerous as he is. And we were very fortunate that while other investigative avenues were being pursued, our senior lead officers in Olympic were able to spot the individual and then take him into custody without incident. So good work on their part. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Was there something that was drawing him here?
Yeah.
Relatives, friends, associates, something like
Yeah. Now, I wondered about that myself, and we don't have an answer to that yet. I'm sure the investigation will bear that out based on proximity of the car and then any connections he may have in the region, but I don't have that info at this point.
Chief, I'm noticing on the celebrity burglary crew, we got 4 on that one right now. One thing, 17 to 18 years old, all of them. Are there shot callers that are still out there you guys are thinking, and these have contracts with juveniles or near juveniles to commit these crimes, literally steer or guide them? This is how you do it.
Yeah, no, great question. You know, when I give this information out here, I want to do so with the understanding that while we want to provide some closure on these crimes, we're not saying that it's done, check the box, that crimes won't continue. We are still very much out there looking at a number of different potential suspects, as well as monitoring what's going on in the area, working with community members and like I said, security officers and others that could be helpful in that. We have to remain vigilant. We can't, you know, take these successes that we shared today and feel like that the job is done. It will continue. It always continues. That's what we do. But I think that, you know, as we move forward, we see that what success we can gain after working together on these type of things, and hopefully that'll be a catalyst for future and closer work in the future. As far as these individuals,
You've got numbers of crimes.
yeah.
In theory, they may be tied to it. We got even a rough estimate.
Yeah, not at this point on the number of crimes. We'll see what search warrants will be done certainly, and we'll see what kind of property we find and then where that ties back to. As far as are these members of many of these burglaries that we've seen are taken on by crews. We talked previously about some of the South American burglary crews that have been in the area, as well as crews made up of criminal street gang members from the Los Angeles area. We are working and have continued to work on both of these types of suspects that have been hitting so many residents within our area, and we continue to do that. As far as being able to say, are they members of a bigger group, I would say that certainly that is a strong possibility. Do people hire or force, or however you want to say, young people who are juveniles in to exploit the system? Certainly that's, I think, a factor that they take into account. Somebody who's trying to get involved in a gang or involved in a gang and they're under 18, they know they'll be treated differently by the system than somebody who is deemed to be an adult.
Street intel, are we talking about vehicle license plate readers, things like that, you know, descriptions on a car, ring camera footage,
Yeah.
or all these factors put into trying to find these guys?
Yeah, no, all of the above. We are using a lot of different tools, a lot of different types of technology, and I won't go into tactics or the specific tools that we're using, But all of the tools in the toolbox have been used in this case, and we'll continue to do that moving forward to be as effective as we can.
Chief, I wanted to ask you about Eric Hale, former LAPD officer, charged with kidnapping, robbery, among other felonies.
Right.
He's previously been charged with insurance fraud as well. Many other LAPD officers come under investigation with those cases.
Yeah, do you want to talk about that, Mike? Yeah, Mike, Assistant Chief Mike Rimkunis, he just left Professional Standards Bureau on his appointment as Assistant Chief, but he can speak more in detail to that.
All right, good afternoon. So to answer your question, at this point, there is no other LAPD officers that are involved in any of the cases that involve Mr. Helm.
Did you look into the possibility, because that was an allegation that was raised?
So there's multiple complaints that have been filed against Mr. Helm, but at this point, we have not come across any other LAPD officers that are involved in any of his operations, whether regarding insurance fraud or home invasion type of robberies.
Quick follow-up.
Sure.
You talked about the North Hollywood attack. What evidence suggests that it wasn't hate motivated or it wasn't?
Yeah, we don't have any evidence at this time to indicate that it was. We certainly haven't been able to interview the victim on this yet, so until we do that, we can't definitively say it was or wasn't. But from what we have available to us now, there is not an indication that it is a hate crime at this point. Yeah, Eric?
Mike, what do you make of all the attention that's been on these residential burglaries? And clearly, there have been these series, there have been these crews that you guys are looking at.
Right.
Also, at the same time, the number of burglaries is dropping.
Yeah.
Like, what's going on that is changing the complexion of what's happening out there? Because the two seem to disagree since the start of the year.
Yeah, no, that very good point, Eric. The number of burglaries overall are decreasing, as is crime pretty much across the board, with some significant decreases, particularly in homicide. And so while we're very proud of the work that's being done on that front, to the people who live in the community that is being burglarized, some of the issues that we see throughout the city, to those individuals, the fact that the numbers show crime is going down doesn't relieve their anxiety. And so we want to be able to address the perception of crime as well as the reality of reported crime as we know it. As far as why would crime be going down, I think there's a great level of vigilance and awareness based on the reporting of many of these crimes, which I believe has worked to our advantage in being a deterrent for others to go out and commit crimes in this area in particular. And so we'll continue to leverage that as best we can as a crime deterrent, but we'll also continue to work the cases that we do have and work to prevent additional crimes from happening using high visibility patrol as we've been using, but more importantly, I think the significant detective follow-up, using our intelligence sources as best we can to identify those that are out there in a repeat fashion perpetrating these types of crimes. So I think all of this working together and the attention that has been focused on this area has been helpful for us in reducing the number of crimes overall.
Within the data that you have, yes, the overall number has gone down, but have you detected something like one particular crime is stopping or is driving that number down? Because again, the perception is that residentials are up.
Right.
And they are not.
Yeah, they are not. But what we're seeing generally, and I've talked about this before, is particularly for these crews, they're using common tactics to be able to get in, and often it's pre-incident surveillance using cameras that are embedded in flower beds or in the yard across the street or in a vehicle that's parked for an extended period of time outside the house to try and be able to lock down pattern of life of the occupant so they know when they go to the gym, when they go to work, when they're going to be home and when they're not. And so certainly to people who are looking out for that, look for what doesn't look right to you, what doesn't appear to be normal in your neighborhood, in your pattern. Talk to neighbors. A good neighbor and a vigilant neighbor is probably the best security that you can possibly get. Using technology, cameras, and alarms is great. We've seen, as I mentioned too earlier, that many of these crime crews are more sophisticated. They're using jammers to jam the Wi-Fi frequency, which then shuts down potentially a wireless alarm are also wireless cameras, so you don't have much to work with. They'll knock on the door when they're comfortable approaching the house. They don't get an answer, and they may come back 15 minutes later, do it again. Then they work their way around the back of the house, and typically they'll break a sliding door in the back of the house or enter through either a window on that floor or a second story. So the MOs are pretty consistent across the board. And, you know, hopefully with the public knowing that, they can take measures to be able to harden the target as best they can. Thank you.
Is there anything regarding specific intelligence these crews are finding out who lives where from various sources, online or other, and then are literally sending crews to target it, check it out, see if he's home or she's home or whatever,
Yeah.
a degree of sophistication we haven't seen before on this.
Yeah, you know, I would say to that, Pete, that I don't have any specific knowledge on exactly how they're establishing their targets, but certainly we all know with the internet today, open source information, you can find out where most people live and be able to even see cars registered to them, phone numbers, those kind of things, without spending any money. You can do that in a relatively open way. Obviously, then people who use social media and they talk about their trip coming up or where they're going to be or where they currently are, you're telling these folks who may looking to exploit your situation that you're out of town and you're not going to be back for a period of time. Likewise, with people engaged in the entertainment industry or sports, the schedule for when they're going to play games is published everywhere. And so they could tell, you know, in advance when you're going to be there and when you're not going to be there. Not to say that somebody else couldn't be at the house, but there's an awful lot of ways that we take for granted and we don't really give enough thought to. Not only do we want our friends to know where we are and what we're doing, but you're telling everybody else then who may be looking to exploit your situation.
Are these crews armed,
Good.
meaning weapons?
Were they armed?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have that information on those that are arrested here, but typically individuals, and we have recovered firearms from those that have been involved in these situations. On these specific ones, I don't have that information, but typically somebody who's doing this type of thing could well be armed.
The reason I'm asking, you're getting a surge in purchases of firearms and people being trained. Are we getting a little bit worried if this type of targeting continues? We might have homeowners using castle doctrine and lo and behold,
Yeah.
a few people winding up dead.
Yep.
fast.
Yep. Yeah, certainly. I think when residents, legitimately have weapons within their residence, that poses an additional risk for anybody who's then breaching that resident for, illegal purposes. And that's something that we talk during the training. We ensure that people are ready to take whatever action is appropriate when that time comes and if it comes, and also the risks that are involved in doing that. And so the more the weapons that are out there in the hands of law-abiding citizens or in the hands of those that aren't, an additional factor to weigh, certainly for responding officers as well.
Chief, I wanted to ask you about some allegations that surfaced back in January about a group of recruitment officers making racist, homophobic,
Yep.
sexist comments. What's the status of that investigation? And also, what has the department done to sort of assuage public concerns that officers are sharing these views behind closed doors or on social media?
Yeah, no, thank you for that. And that information that led to that investigation came from within our organization. An individual who was in that environment reported it immediately. We shut down the unit. We assigned the individuals. Once we determined who was involved, assigned them to home. An investigation was begun. That investigation is still ongoing at this point. And we set the tone very clearly as to what is going to be tolerated and what's not. And clearly, in this case, we were highly offended by what we heard. We made that very clear to everybody in the organization. We've talked about it on a number of different ways. We replaced the individuals in that unit because it's critical. That's a critical part of our operation, to be able to recruit, hire, and train the very best people that we can get. So these are the actions of a handful of individuals. It was not tolerated. A very clear message was sent, and they'll be held appropriately responsible for what they did.
I mean, is there any concern about whether damage was done, whether
Yeah.
some people may not have applied to the job?
Yeah.
because of what they heard?
Yeah.
You mentioned at the time you were going to look at a sort of an impact study.
Right. Yeah, that's still underway, working with the personnel department on that. Certainly, anytime anything like this happens, it has an impact on some people, certainly, that may have been looking toward the LAPD as a great place to work, and maybe that set them back a few steps. My hope is that we can be very clear that we had a problem, we addressed it, we're moving forward with it, and we're doing everything we can to ensure that nothing like that happens again. This is a great job, a great opportunity, a great career for people who are interested in this type of work, and I couldn't recommend it any higher than I do for if you're the right fit for this job. Please continue to pursue it, and if you want to be able to see a difference, be part of that difference.
Hi, Chief.
Say-
JR with KTLA.
Hey, JR.
The DA talked about the street takeover issue that's happening throughout the city yesterday.
Right.
It seems to me like there's been an increase